in spite of the situation of the world, we continue talking about the art, about different cultures, about the unusual things. And in the Hermitage Museum today, we have opportunity to speak about one of the hugest mystery in our archaeology. It will be the talk about the opening of the ancient burial mounds, which were situated in the area of Altai region. It's in the Siberia parts of Russia, near to China and also near to Mongolia. Here in 1st century before Christ lived nomads, and we call these nomads Scythian. They are very interesting nomadic culture, and our talking today will be very specific, and it connected with the condition, how all of these things were protected. It connected also the condition, how such things were researched, how they were opened. So it will be the talking about the history of the excavation. All of the burial mounds were discovered by our Russian archaeologists Sergei Ivanovich Rudenko and also Mikhail Petrovich Gryznov. In 1st century, in 1st millennium before Christ, in 4th, 3rd century before Christ, here in the area of Altai region lived nomads. We call them Scythian. And all of the things which were found out in such burial mound, traditionally in common condition, they are not protected, they're not saved, but here they were saved because of the very specific condition. All of the burial mounds were roped in ancient time, and also such situation give the opportunity for water put inside of the burial mound, and also the ice which were created here in this burial mound inside, it protects all of these things, all of the organic materials which are in common condition. Again, I just tell you about it, they are not protected. So now it's time to see all of these things which were inside of the burial mound. So how look like the construction of burial mounds? The burial mound consists of two parts, the underground part and also the earth part. So inside of the underground parts were the special construction, and I pay your attention here, you can understand how it looked like. And we suppose that these construction were joined together on the earth, then they were reconstructed and put inside of the burial mound. So the ancient people who just create the construction of this burial mound, of this tomb, they have the special instruction. If you pay your attention here, you can understand how it looked like. So there are special lines which remind ancient people how to construct all of the tombs. Inside of these burial mounds were found out sarcophagus, and it's really very long sarcophagus, about 5 meters. Inside were the place for 2 people, so double sarcophagus for men and women. Again, I want to remind you that such burial mounds was robbed in ancient time, and that's why we need to remember all of the organic material usually not protected. So here they were protected in ice. Near to the south part of these burial mounds were found out the special place for horses, and inside of these spots, inside of the horse pot, were found out the hugest felt carpets. So now I want to enjoy you to the such felt carpet. The hugest felt carpet, and what about the size? Square here is about 30 quadrat meters, so it's really one of the hugest felt carpets all over the world, and it was created with using of white felt. All of the application which decorate such felt you can find out here. So it's a huge composition, and you can find out 3 long range like this one, that one, and also on the upper part. So here on the design we use different ornamental things, for example the things which remind us about the solar signs or sun symbols animals, for example, the deer, horse, like this one sings, and so on and so forth. So on the central two hugest parts on the felt, you can find out the composition. This composition is really very similar, but they are different, so on the details. And what about the composition? You can find out the figure of lady. We suppose it's fantastic lady, like in maybe goddess. So if you pay your attention on her ear, you can understand that it was decorated very unusually. And she sits on the throne. She have the traditional clothes. Here you can find out the dress, the blue dress with the red colors and red design, and also the fantastic tree. We suppose it can be the so-called fantastic tree, which goes on the roots of the underground world, so it stays here in our world, and also with the roots it go to the upper world. So it's the understanding of the model of the world, so-called world tree, and it's really very unusual. So in stylistic, on the design, for example, there are some things remind us about the realistic features like this one, and some of them are very fantastic. Near to this lady, we can find out riding man, and this riding man on the decorative clothes, and if you pay your attention, you can understand that his face is very interesting from ethnical points of view. The hugest nose, and also the luxurious hair, the unusual mustache. So the features of his face are very, very bright. What about the understanding? What about the interpretation of this scene? We don't know exactly, but we suppose that it can be things which remind us about the ancient goddess, and also things which symbolize us about the some kind of fantastic, powerful science. So all of the things which remind us about the ritual fast, ritual holiday. We don't know exactly how it was used, such carpet functionally, but inside of the carpets were found out hugest long sticks from the left and right sides of the showcase. You can understand how it looked like, and also the special construction which can be used like a base for such tapestry. So maybe these tapestries was used for decoration of the special ritual house. Maybe it was decorated especially for deaf people, and maybe for some special ceremonies. Some of the people, some of the researchers suppose that it can be used for decoration of the upper parts of the burial mound before the construction of burial mounds was finished. Near to the hugest felt carpet was found figures of very general name of such swans, because some of the features remind us about their fantastic animals. So here you can see such swans. So swan figures, and also we can understand that it's really very general name, because we can understand that it's some kind of mixture of different animals, mixture of different creation. And here we have opportunity to speak about the so-called Scythian style, animal style, when you join together different features of different animals, maybe to make more powerful creature, or maybe it connected with some kind of ritual. We don't know exactly, but what we can say exactly that some of the features of these swans are very interesting, very strange. For example, their flights, and they are designed with the brown and also dark colors, and it's really very unusual for swans. And the construction of these flights, also the tails of swans are very unusual. They are decorated in ornamental form, maybe which remind us about the construction of palmetto or the leaves of palms. So it's really some kind of the stylistic factor. What about the decoration of these swans? So they were designed with the different colors, mostly, of course, plant colors. How they were constructed? Sometimes we just call such swans the sculptures, because they remind us about the sculptures. Inside were put the different plants, for example, and here was used felt, the white felt, at the basis for such swans. How they can be used, and were they created especially for burial mounds, especially for grave? We don't know exactly. Maybe they were used in common life, and maybe they were used for some kind of special rituals or ceremonies. But what we know exactly that they were found out near to their felt carpets. What about the sworns and also the idea of the interpretation? Here we have modern time different theories connected with interpretation. Some of the people, some of the research suppose that such sworns can be symbols. They can symbolize some kind of the hugest union of our worlds, for example, the upper world, the down world, and also the our worlds where we live. So birds who just felt on the sky, they remind us about the sky world, and also they can sit it on the water because we just speak about the swans, and they can go in our world. So here we can find out again there's such theory about three worlds, about the one union. What about the using of such swans? They can be used like a decoration for the construction, where was used the carpet, the felt carpet, and maybe they were used like a special decoration for cut. They were found out in that part where were the horses' burial mounds. So they were in that part of the burial mounds where were the place for horses. We don't know exactly how they were used, and also we don't know exactly how was used one of the unusual carpets in this exposition. It's one of the pearl of our exposition and one of the hugest honest of the Hermitage collection. It's the most ancient pill carpet. So it's the most ancient all over the world pill carpet, and it was created with the wool threads. What about the technical specific? Here was used about 3,600 nodes per on the one square decimeter. And also what about the whole sides of the nodes? Here we suppose are about 1,025,000 nodes on these carpets. And also we suppose that one master who create this carpet needs about 1.5 years to create the whole composition. What about the composition? In the central part you can find out 24 different compositions with the ornaments like a flower, so maybe they remind us about the lotus flowers, so maybe it's some kind of the stylization principle, so the ornamental plants. Then you can see the small range with the figures of Gruffus, and you can find out such Gruffus on the central part and then on the back part. Then you can find out the range with the deers, and it's so-called spotted deers, very specific animal with a very specific features. Maybe it's a real deer, maybe it's some kind of fantastic creature. And then again you can find out the ornamental decoration. The hugest wide size of this decoration, the hugest line, show the figures of nomads who are riding on the horses, or for example who go near to these horses. Again, I want to remind you that it's one of the most ancient peel carpets all over the world. And we don't know exactly, maybe it was a special present, like a diplomatic gifts from different maybe iron people to nomads, maybe it was some kind of the special winning prize, some kind of the one prize, yes, some kind of the special things which was put it like expert things from the iron country. But it's absolutely non-Scythian, so it's the absolutely not nomadic things. It's some kind of the international things, maybe from the iron world, on the general understanding. Also, the unusual fabric was used for decoration of the saddle clothes, and the saddle clothes is very important for clothes decoration of horses. Horses are very, very important parts of the nomadic life, and also when we speak about Scythian culture, we need to remember about horses. Horses were decorated very luxurious style, and I want to show you two saddle clothes which were decorated with the export fabric. So they're here in these showcases. One of the saddlecloths was decorated with the iron fabric, and here we can reconstruct the composition, the whole composition, with the figures of two ladies. One of the lady are so-called the general, the main lady, and also the lady or smaller. We can find out near to this lady. Maybe this fabric was used for clothes, and then they were reconstructed and they were put to the design of their saddle clothes. On the decoration of this iron saddle clothes, we can see also the gold plates, which were clay with the unusual substance, and till our days we didn't need the special restoration of this clay and also these gold plates. One of the unusual fabric was used on the decoration of the saddle cloths, and here was used the Chinese silk. It's one of the hugest parts of the Chinese silk of these periods in different foreign countries, so from the area where live Chinese people. On the design here you can find out also the phoenixes and some kind of the ornamental design which remind us about trees. Again, I need to remind you that here was used the not nomadic fabric, so here was used the Chinese fabric. All of the saddle clothes were used for decoration of the horses, which were the bodies of the horses were put near to the south part of the burial mound, and near to the figures of horses were found out their carts. One of the wooden carts which was protected here absolutely. The ancient carts, which can be used on this area for maybe for ritual or some kind of the religious ceremony. So it's really very hard to imagine that such carts can be used for common life, because we'll speak about Altai region, the Siberia region. So here is a very specific landscape and with a lot of mountains, for example. So it's really very hard to use such cart on the common life, but maybe it was used for some kind of the special ceremonies. In the area of Altai region were found out a lot of different carts, and it's really very common things which were found out inside of the burial mounds, but this is really extraordinary things because it's absolutely protected, and again it was protected in ice. Again, I remind you about the unusual condition, how all of these things were protected. Here was used mostly the birch tree, and what about the construction? It consists of two parts, the one part and also another one. Some of the details of this construction are polished, and it tells us about the using of such construction, so maybe it was used for some kind of holidays. But you can't turn this cart, and maybe you just can put it on the hands, or for example you can turn it with the hugest radius, so without a special technique or construction. Here we used 4 horses, and all of the horses were decorated luxurious style with their special saddle clothes and also the decoration of the tails. All of the horses were put near to the cut. Today we speak about the very unusual things, the organic material which were protected in the original unusual condition, and of course we need to speak about the people who were owners of all of these things. So people who live here in this area in that time, people who just used all of these unusual felt carpets or the peel carpets, saddle clothes, the carts, but it will be the talk about mummy, and maybe some of our audience don't want to continue this discussion, so that's why thank you very much for your attention, and for everyone who just prepared to this talking, I just want to invite you to the central showcases on this hall, where is the special place for So how look like nomads? Today we speak a lot about the things which were found out in the Burial Mound, and I suppose it's time to speak about people who live here. All of the burial mounds were created especially for the people who were some kind of the rulers of this area, and now we have opportunity to see the mummy of one of the nomadic ruler. So here is the mummy of the man, and his mummy were put into the sarcophagus. Today we speak about the sarcophagus and the construction, or the tomb construction of the inside parts of the burial mound. Near to the figure of man were the figure of woman, and everybody knows about the ancient Egyptian mummies, for example, and the tradition of the mummification in the ancient Egypt. Here we have opportunity to speak about the mummification here in the Altai region, and people who just create this mummification, they are very high professional level people. Everything was created according to the tradition, according to the special ceremonies. All of the lungs, all of the things which were inside of the pit, all of the organs, they were put it out. We don't know exactly how they can be used. Maybe some of the people can eat them, and some of the scientists suppose that it can be some kind of the ritual dinner with the using of such inside organs. Some of the researchers suppose that it can be used like special food for birds, for example. Some of the birds who just fly on the sky, and also together with them they put their soul of these people. But all of the mummies which were found out in Altai region some years ago, after they were transported to St. Petersburg 50 years ago, they were discovered again on the special red infra rays, and also on such excavation were created one of the hugest opening in the archaeology. All of the mummies were decorated with the tattoos. What about the using of such tattoos and how they can be interpreted nowadays? We have different theories, and one of the general theory tell us about the concept. So here on the body of this man, we can find out on the reconstruction how we decorated the body with the tattoos, or one part near to the heart of the man were decorated with a figure of predator and herbivore. So here the figure of tiger, the hugest tiger, and also his head on that part where the heart of people, or heart of the man. On the other side, you can find out their horses, and also it can be some kind of symbol of their winning on the war, or for example, winning on some kind of fightings. On the legs, you can find out different deers, and they remind us about their speedy of this man, and some kind of the symbol of their such speedy. And also some of the tattoos tell us about the common life of these people. For example, on the big fingers were found out the figures of rose, the hands. So today we spent our free time, we have some kind of different things. For example, the cinema, or for example, we can sit near to the our rooms with our relatives. We can speak about something, or we can spend our free time on the internet. For example, we can see the online translation of the Hermitage Museum. And the ancient nomads, they can spend their free time sitting on the maybe special rooms, and also playing with their fingers. So like this one, they just sit it and also play with their hands. And here you can find out their special fighting between roosts. One of the book which was created especially, which connects with devoted to this exposition, very poetic name, the mystery, which were threaded, which was woven with the beauty, and I suppose it's one of the beautiful words to our exposition. So it's really the mystery world and the mystery culture. Thank you very much, dear guests, for your attention.